It's showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
A fine Saturday matinee to you, Andy Nelson.
Top of the morning to you, laddie.
See? I open the door.
It's a thing now.
You walk right through it. Andy, you went to see Aquaman, the latest entree into the DC cinematic universe last night. Yeah. Tell me all about that experience. And I don't mean just your thoughts on the movie. I mean your experience watching, or shall I say, trying to watch it.
It was just, I woke up too early yesterday, and so I was very tired. And so I struggled a little bit. I did stay awake, but I was pretty tired.
And
my son fell asleep.
You have an eight-year-old son. You fell asleep. Let's just say that again. You have an 8-year-old son who went to the movie Aquaman and fell asleep in Aquaman.
You can't fault him for anything other than we shouldn't have taken him to a later show. I
can fault him a little. I'm not faulting him. I would never fault him. He's adorable. I think that
faulting
there's
me
something
for my
to be
parenting
said.
choices.
No, I'm not faulting you. You are also adorable. I am faulting perhaps and I haven't seen it yet, so I can't say. I'm fishing a little bit here. Is there something to be said about the film Aquaman that actually allows their core target market, 8-year-old boys, to fall asleep?
No.
And you are also an 8-year-old boy.
I think it was really just too late because he was loving every second of it. That was the problem. It's not a perfect movie. I did have quite a bit of fun, but it's just one of those where there's just like there's stuff happening constantly. It's like battle, and it's just, it hits a point where it's like I don't know if any of these really mean anything anymore. But dadgummit, they made a fun-looking movie with a lot of characters, and they created a very interesting universe, I thought. I enjoyed a lot of the elements with it.
It's a universe in which sharks roar.
There are a lot of interesting undersea creatures far beyond sharks that apparently exist, at least in this world. And
how was the Momo, Jason Momoa? How'd he do? He looks great.
He is, man. Whoever decided that he would be a great choice to cast as Aquaman, instead of casting like a Chris Pine type or somebody who probably would have looked like how they initially drew him, and at least from my cartoon memory from the Justice League days, it's he's perfect. I mean, he is a brilliant choice to have put in that role. I think he's clearly having fun with it, and gets that it's kind of it's like an Ant-Man type of character. It's like a guy who talks to fish, but he's clearly having a great time with it. And just, he looks and acts the part really well.
I'm so glad to hear that. Does it feel like it's a different, like in your sense of it, it's a different thing than the other entries into the DC universe? Does it cheer it up a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. In no way is it a dark, morbid story like any of the BVS Doge types of movies or Justice League. This is much more in lines with a Wonder Woman type of thing. And even then, it still is a much more upbeat, positive film. That one took place during World War I, so by nature it was a darker story. This one takes place in this kind of undersea kingdom that's very colorful and full of life and interesting things, and it's largely just fun.
That's great. I'm happy.
Well, and now I know I'm going to have to go see it again because Parker's going to want to see the rest of it.
Wish I could get out and see that today. Alas, I cannot, but very glad to hear. Good report. I was hoping for a little bit more controversy, Andy. I was hoping for a little bit more controversy.
I know you were. You were fishing.
But I was fishing in Aquaman. Early morning.
Look at that. Yep. There it was.
What else do you know? You seen anything else good?
I have been just so busy wrapping work up for the end of the year before the holidays. And I just have not gotten out to see anything. It's been a real rough time. But I'm hoping now that I'm on break that I'm gonna have a chance to fill in some of the gaps that I've been missing.
Yeah, a lot of gaps. Lot of
Lots,
gaps.
yes.
I haven't seen a whole lot, mostly because I was finishing Altered Carbon, which is it's way old news now. Way old news. It came out, I don't know when it came out, early in the year, I think. But I finally got through it. And you know what? I really enjoyed it. I think there were some people who didn't, but I really had a good time with it. And it makes me want to read all the books. I didn't even know it was based on a book. So there are 3 books. Totally great. And it was signed. I don't think it was ever planned to have a second season, but it was signed to a second season. Netflix bought another season of it. Even as it was lobbing off Netflix properties, we get another Altered Carbon coming. So that's very exciting. I did watch an interesting and super fun kind of violent film from 1973, Japanese Toshio Fujita film, Lady Snowblood. Have you ever seen that one?
I have not, but I saw that pop up in the Discord feed that you watched that, and I was like, oh, wonder what spurred him on to watch that one.
And do you know, it was, as you do, you're following YouTube links, and one review leads to another, and a couple of them mention this movie, and I happened to find it and watch it, and I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of good stuff going on in this movie. There truly is. And also, the incredibly generous stabbing blood effects from this 1973 Japanese movie. The way when a sword enters a body, the way the blood emerges against so many of these white backgrounds it's so good. I don't know another word to say. It's yummy. It's yummy. The way this works. It definitely fits into the category of, sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and that the whole trilogy. It's definitely a sort of retribution story, and I had a delightful time with it. I'm so glad that it's been preserved. It's worth checking out.
Well, I will have to check that one out because
put it on the list.
It sounds quite interesting. It sounds like something I'd have a fun time with.
You would. I mean, that's why I bring it up. It's your kind of movie, and Meiko Kaji is fantastic. Is in the starring role, and
Do you foresee a series down the road?
Possibly. It makes me really interesting to check out other films. This is the only film I've seen directed by this particular director, so I'm very interested in it.
Huh. I am intrigued.
Yeah. Color yourself intrigued, Andy.
I already have. It's kind of a puce that I look like.
That's the color of
intrigue. It's puce. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that, but
that's really gross. It's really gross. The holidays have kicked in, and I too have some catch up to do. I'll tell you what we are seeing on Thursday of this week is a Fathom event. They Shall Not Grow Old. What do you know about this?
I know it looks really interesting. I'm color me intrigued again.
You're a little pucier. This is the story where Peter Jackson and his team, they have applied all of their Lord of the Rings-esque special effects wizardry to very, very old World War I footage. It was all shot, it was all sped up, black and white, no sound. And so they've gone in, they've slowed it down, and they've colorized it, and they've actually made it 3D in one showing. We are not seeing the 3D version of this, but you could actually go see a 3D version of it. And the whole idea is to show sort of what World War I looked like. And I think it's just fascinating. For me, I'm seeing it as a curiosity, and that my daughter has bought tickets for her grandfather, and I'm joining them for Christmas.
Wow.
Because he's a huge World War I fan. And fan? Is that? It's weird. It's not a fan. He's a history buff, and he's curious, ever curious about World War I. The weirdest part, if you haven't watched the trailer, is they've also added voice actors to all this old silent film. And so you have these dubbed actors And sometimes they sound kind of cartoony. Oh, look, we're on film.
Yeah, right.
It just sounds a little bit cartoony. I struggle a little bit with that, but it looks like something that could be very, very engaging. So I'm curious to see all these tools applied to all this history.
I'm curious as well. I'm also curious how it's going to be received when it comes time to awards nominations. And I'm wondering, I mean, I don't know the quality of it compared to the quality of other documentaries that are out there. I do know that there have been, a very large number of quality documentaries this year. And so I'm curious if this is going to steamroll over them in the award season only because of Peter Jackson's name being attached, or if that's going to hurt him, or if it's or if people are going to look past that and just judge on quality. Who am I kidding? People don't do that.
Well, that's an interesting bit of commentary there, and I already think if anything, this movie has some technical awards on lock, but I have yet to see what the story is. What is the story they're trying to tell in this documentary?
Right.
Because I've seen a lot of war documentaries, and this one leans so hard on the technical achievement, which is good in and of itself. But I've seen nothing that says, we're telling the story of, the German invasion of France and Britain's response. And I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what it's about. It's just, we took this footage and we made it nice.
Right.
We put color and removed noise. Well, is that enough? I don't know, but I'm curious about it.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing to see. What is the story, or is it just like a Ken Burns? This is World War I, ever expansive, and you're just getting snippets.
It's all of World War I.
It's the whole thing.
We're going to tell the story of World War I in real time.
It's still going.
That's right.
Yes, indeed. Well, cool.
Yeah. All right. Shall we do trailers?
We shall.
All right, let's do it. Why don't you go first?
So my trailer is the new Neil Jordan film. Neil Jordan, you may remember from films like The Crying Game, and what else has he done recently? I can't think of.
I don't know. That's a throwback right there. The Crying Game.
Yeah, The Crying Game was quite a while ago, but even going farther back, films like Mona Lisa and Interview with a Vampire, The End of the Affair. His last film credited as a director was Byzantium. Do you remember that one?
I've never even heard of that.
It was a vampire. I think it was a British vampire film with Gemma Arterton, Saoirse Ronan, and Johnny Lee Miller.
I love those people.
The story concerns a mother and daughter vampire duo who move into a rundown hotel while hiding out from other vampires.
Wow.
That's one I want to learn more about.
Add to the list.
Yeah, very interesting. But anyway, this is not this film. This is his new film, Greta, which is, it looks to be really interesting, really creepy. And I love the way that the trailer sets it up. Like it's going to be this kind of touching story of this young girl who befriends an aging French widow living in New York City after she finds her handbag on a subway and returns it to her and kind of befriends her and becomes, kind of a substitute daughter for her, living or kind of coming over and hanging out with her and all that sort of stuff, until the creepy moment when she's looking for some candles to light in Greta's house. And she opens up the cupboard only to find a huge collection of similar handbags. And one of them has her name on it. And so basically she learns that this woman is almost like this freaky stalker sort of person who leaves purses on subways in the hopes that someone will return it to her. And then she can kind of infiltrate herself into their life and become obsessed with them. And it goes into this crazy stalker thriller story, which I think looks really interesting and really creepy. Isabelle Huppert as Greta. She looks great in the role, and Chloe Grace Moretz is the girl who she starts to stalk. This just looks right up my alley. creepy stalker movie with some really interesting characters. What do you think of this one?
This movie, I just did not know where this movie was going. At any given moment, it was it looked like a cute film in the beginning, as you say, and then it comes completely off the rails, and suddenly Greta is washing blood off the floor. It just sort of grotesqueries and needles in necks, and it just was it was wicked, twisty wickedness. I think it looks. I'm very curious about it. I love Isabelle Huppert.
Did you see Elle?
I was just going to mention Elle. Paul Verhoeven's film Elle in 2016 I thought was so good. I really enjoyed that movie, and she was great in it. So I'm very excited about. I'm very excited about this one. I'm more excited about this one than I would ever have expected to be. It's like older white female, and
totally is,
looks so good. So yeah, I'm into it. When's it hit?
This one is going to be, it opened at the Toronto Film Festival earlier this year, but it will have its premiere here in the U.S. on March 1st, 2019, and then Portugal, March 7th, Russia, March 28th, and the UK finally April 19th. That's all that's slated at the moment, but hopefully more places will be added to the list as we get closer.
All right. Well, Andy, my trailer, I don't know. I'm excited about this, but and hopeful. I'm deeply hopeful about this movie. It is All Is True. It is Kenneth Branagh's latest film, written by Ben Elton, who is I think a comedian, right? He was originally apparently part of London's alt comedy movement in the 80s, and he was a writer on The Young Ones and Blackadder, two of my very favorite series as a kid. And he ends up writing this movie, All Is True, which is about the very end of William Shakespeare's sort of life and career, and what happens as Shakespeare is an old guy. And it also stars Ian McKellen and Judi Dench as his wife, as Shakespeare's wife, starring and directed by Kenneth Branagh. And I mean, the movie opens after the Globe Theater burns down in 1613, and it happens during a play, Henry VIII, as it's on stage, and so that's where it begins, and it just sort of goes from there about him kind of figuring out what life looks like at the end. I have heard that it is compared. I've heard it compared to Shakespeare in Love, but that it's like the spiritual, not comedic sort of sequel to Shakespeare in Love, where Shakespeare in Love is like fun and frivolous and early in his life, and this is what happens at the end. And so I find myself really attracted to this. Impeccable, I think, makeup work to give us the stereotypical, like what we think of as the archetype of William Shakespeare in Kenneth Branagh's face. I see it, and I buy it just from the trailer, and I'm very much looking forward to this. What do you think?
Yeah, if there's anybody who can handle Shakespeare, it's Kenneth Branagh. I mean, he has done.
But the question is, Andy, there's a difference between handling Shakespeare and being Shakespeare.
But I think he looks great in the part. I mean, I think it actually looks like a really intriguing film. I'd heard nothing of this one, and so it was kind of surprising to kind of see this trailer roll around and look at it and go, oh, it's an interesting kind of later in life biopic for Shakespeare. So I'm quite intrigued by it. I think the cast looks great. Inevitably, I think Branagh generally picks really great people to be in his Shakespeare projects, and this certainly looks to be the case here. I did find it interesting, and this is not related to the trailer specifically, but just something I didn't know, is that Shakespeare's wife, who's played by Judi Dench here in the film, her name is Anne Hathaway.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, it just
that's confusing.
struck me funny. So it made me wonder, did the actress's parents know that and name her Anne because of that? Or is it just a random happenstance? Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know, but this one does not star Anne Hathaway, although it does star Anne Hathaway, played by Judi Dench. And Judi Dench looks great in this role. I mean, I find in the trailer, I just believe these people. And it's funny, I watched these three, particularly Ian McKellen and Kenneth Branagh and Judi Dench, and I think, wow, this is an example of three people who potentially were born sort of out of time, that they all look great in all the great projects that they do, but this one feels like just kind of hand to glove for these particular performers, and so I really look forward to it. It's getting some quite generous reviews so far, though brief. It is apparently out. They've got the limited U.S. release. It came out on the 21st of December, and so it's floating around this weekend. I don't know, New York and L.A., I'm sure, which means if it's great, we might hear more about it in early in the next year. It doesn't actually have a specific release date for the U.S., just 2019. It is coming to the U.K. and Ireland February 8th, 2019. So keep an eye out for this one. I think it's going to be fun. Hopefully it gets some legs and comes everywhere.
We shall see. Cool.
All right, Andy.
Shall we do our list?
Talk about the list.
List time.
I'm embarrassed.
Well, we're talking about the producer's remake from '05. And for our options, we put together, again, non-musical films turned into Broadway musicals, hoping that someone would pick it and go with that this time, but no.
No one did.
Animal Puppetry, which came in a very close second, but the one that we're going with is, of course, Hitler portrayals. Everybody's favorite pre-Christmas thing to talk about.
I thought when we came up with this, I thought this is going to be a breeze. It's going to be a breeze. Surely Hitler's been portrayed in a ton of movies, and surely I'll be able to come up with all the ones that will make me feel like a good cinema goer. I have not seen very many of those movies, Andy, and I have certainly, in my research, I have not seen what are cataloged as the best portrayals of Hitler, and it's a curse.
Well, luckily we didn't say the best portrayals of Hitler. We just said Hitler portrayals.
True. That is true.
You want to kick us off?
Well, I suppose that
since it sounds like your list is probably shorter than mine.
I can almost guarantee that. All right, Andy. The first one is, I think, it may be the most fun on my list. The most fun portrayal, certainly the most violent portrayal on my list, and that is Adolf Hitler as performed by Jorma Taccone in Kung Fury. It is a massively made up character. You may know the name Jorma Taccone. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that. Taccone. He is one of the trio, The Lonely Island, with Akiva Schafter and Andy Samberg. I'm on a boat, yo. I have loved the Lonely Island since I started seeing their shorts appear on SNL, and it was I did not know that Jorma was playing Hitler in this movie, and I found this little as I started researching, because he's uncredited. I couldn't find him, and I found a YouTube video of them making him up, or actually unmaking him. They play it in reverse, so you actually see Hitler, and then they start taking his makeup off, and you realize, oh my god, I know that kid. Like, he's a guy I recognize. So it was really fun. The movie was, we did it as, I think you brought it as a trailer pick years ago. They came out with a short, and it was it was a celebration of everything I ever did with my action heroes as a kid under my bed. It was dinosaur, right? Hitler riding dinosaurs. It was fantastic. And so that's it. Kung Fury Hitler and his army of death.
It makes me regret not having seen Iron Sky or
exactly
was the sequel Sky Sharks or whatever it is.
Sky Sharks, yeah.
So that I could include it on my list, because inevitably it should be here.
Exactly. Don't think I didn't go down that particular I actually spent so long watching the videos about those movies that I should have just watched the movie.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't go that far.
Didn't.
So,
Well, for my
what's yours?
first choice, I'm going with one that I think it's fair to put on the list, even though it's not specifically Hitler, but it is, because it's a lot of little clones of Hitler who are all getting planted all over the world. It is the really interesting, they call it a sci-fi thriller, which I guess it is, but I wouldn't normally say it's a sci-fi film, but it's The Boys from Brazil, Franklin J. Schaffner's 1978 film with Gregory Peck and Laurence Olivier and James Mason and Uta Hagen and Denham Elliott and Steve Guttenberg. It's a really interesting film about these criminals from Germany who moved down to Paraguay and set up shop cloning Hitler. Dr. Mengele has been making little Hitler clones and is planting them all around the world so that they can grow new Hitlers, and then he's going to have them raised exactly the same way that Hitler was, where his father gets taken away from him at a young age, and all of these things. And it's interesting because these kids are out there, but they stop the bad guys, and then they choose to just, spoiler alert, they leave the kids out there just so they can grow up, but say that they're only kids, just burn the list, let them grow up, and just hope that they don't turn into Hitler. I thought it was such an interesting little movie. I had a great time with it. And technically, it's not Adolf Hitler, but it is clones. So I thought it counted. So that's my first choice.
I've never seen it.
Oh, it's a fun one. It's a really interesting journey down this crazy cloning world. We should talk about it one day.
Absolutely. Get it on the list. Make a note. Intern. My next pick, Andy, is, again, I feel like I'm skimming the very surface, but it is a movie that I really enjoyed. And that is the film Inglourious Bastards, Quentin Tarantino's film from 2009. Hitler, in this case, was played by Martin Wuttke, who is, I really enjoy him, and I had forgotten how many things I've seen him in. He was in Cloud Atlas as Mr. Boerhaave. He was Knepfler and Hannah. He was in The Colony, which the guys did on a Trailer Rewind, or Colonia. He's been in a bunch of stuff, and also in Sense8, the Netflix series. He was Volker Baum in Sense8. So if you're a Sense8 fan, he's there. I haven't watched all of that either, but been in a ton of stuff. And so I just remember his performance in that movie. The movie I thought was fantastic. I love the kind of alternate history stuff that Tarantino has going on there. But his performance in particular and his cape and everything, I thought was just really, really great. And I enjoyed that movie a lot. So.
And boy, do you get a Hitler death scene in that one.
You really do. So
that's a fun one. Yes, indeed. That's one that I figured you'd have on your list. It's a good one. My next one is what I think really kind of, I guess you could say it's kind of a definitive Hitler portrayal. It is played by Bruno Ganz in Oliver Hirschbiegel's film Downfall from 2004. A really, really compelling movie that's kind of the last days of Hitler and his wife and his team as they are inside his bunker trying to figure out what to do. And it's kind of the very end of the war. Very, it was controversial because it made Hitler kind of a human being, but it also has this incredibly over-the-top scene where Bruno Ganz is playing Hitler, is just screaming at everybody, and it turned into like the most memeable thing imaginable, as everybody was doing all sorts of crazy, goofball translations of it that you could find on the internet, and it's pretty funny to that end, but it's a really good film. It's really powerful to kind of watch it and just kind of see the end and kind of what's going through their heads as this whole war kind of comes to an end. fantastic film that's worth checking out with a brilliant portrayal of Adolf Hitler. So check it out if you haven't seen it. Downfall.
I haven't seen it.
Have you seen any
Yet
of the
again.
memes? Are you familiar
No.
with the Downfall memes?
No, and I came across Downfall. This was the first I'd heard of the movie, but I'd never seen it, and I hadn't ever given it a whole lot of thought. And no, I have not heard of any of the memes.
It is a thing. It is a huge thing.
Oh, I should start.
And it's something that
thing.
even the director thinks is hilarious. He says they're just so funny, and he says that you couldn't get a better compliment as a director. So
yeah.
So, which is funny because he loves it, but the production company does not approve at all, and they keep sending takedown notices to YouTube. So it's funny, the back and forth. The director loves it, and the production company is stop it. So, in fact, it spurred a meme where somebody did it with Bruno or with Hitler saying, "I want DMCA takedown notices sent on all these videos immediately."
All right, I'll start. It's one of those. I'm sure maybe I have seen the memes and I didn't even know that that's what they were from.
I'm putting the link in Show Talk right now so people can look at it.
All right, we'll put it in the notes. My final pick is another one I'm sure you're going to say. I knew you'd have that on your list. It is David Bamber's performance as Adolf Hitler in Valkyrie, a controversial film because Tom Cruise didn't speak in a German accent, I guess. But I still really enjoyed Bryan Singer's film. I had a fun time with it, and I thought Bamber's great. I remember just the turn. He's at the table and he turns his head, and it's very dramatic. And I thought, ooh, good Hitler. I don't know. Is that something you're allowed to say? Say, that's a nice Hitler. So I thought his performance was great. And that movie was, I don't think it's talked about enough. I think it was a good one. And I wish it didn't have all that weirdness when it came out. At least it has solidified its position well over 6 stars in the IMDb rule. It is a 7.1.
It's a brilliant film. I think it's just fantastic. A really gripping story. Told very well. I really have a great time with that. The Tom Cruise factors never bugged me. I just think
it never bugged me either. I thought that was so weird.
Well, it was also kind of right around that time where everybody was like, he was still suffering a little bit from his couch jumping period and all of that. So, but I love it. I think it's a brilliant choice. Certainly was on my list, and it has a rightful place here, I think.
Well, it sure does. And the rest of the cast was fantastic. I mean,
absolutely.
Kenneth Branagh, we've already got him on A-list today, which is very exciting. But Bill Nye and Terrence Stamp was amazing. Eddie Izzard was fantastic. I mean, it's just a great set of fantastic actors in this movie. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
There you go.
I couldn't agree more. Well, for my final choice, as much as I want to throw The Great Dictator on here because it's a perfect parody of Hitler, unfortunately, it is Adenoid Hinkle, not Adolf Hitler, that Charlie Chaplin is playing in that film. Although I would, just as a note, say it's just a fantastic parody of him. So a lot of fun to check that one out. But no, my final choice, and actually it's even... I think The Great Dictator is actually a better choice because it actually is doing its job quite well. But
the intention of lampooning the dictator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But because, again, we are in our Mel Brooks series, or not Mel Brooks series, but we're talking about these films right now. Mel Brooks has been a huge part of with the producers. And as much as I'd love to throw To Be or Not to Be on here again, since I did have it last week, I chose not to. Instead, I'm doing it's essentially like a bit part. It is a spoof gag at the end of History of the World Part 1. It is when they're talking about previews of coming attractions. It's a mock teaser for History of the World Part 2, which of course never actually happened, but it promises to include Hitler on ice. And for that alone, I wanted to make sure I threw it on the list. Because it really,
Oh.
I mean, who doesn't want to see that? It just is, it's complete nonsense. But
Nobody doesn't want to see that.
leave it to Mel Brooks to make it something that he puts out there. It's just a really funny idea, to have the little see Hitler on ice, and it's all of like 15 seconds in the movie, but you get this fantastic little ice skating bit of Hitler kind of, dancing on ice.
Yeah, he's doing his triple axel, and
right.
he's doing his thing.
Yeah, it's great stuff. So there you go. That closes out the list.
Good pick. That closes out the list. The only other, I did have History of the World on there, and I left it off the list because I couldn't remember if I had ever talked about History of the World in one of my picks. But that was definitely a backup. And I also had Manhunt, but we've talked about Manhunt on the show, and that's another thing. So also very pretty much, through the sights pick.
Yeah.
So
cool.
So what are we doing this week?
Well, we are looking at, we're kicking off our look at films nominated for Best Picture in 1968. And starting it with The Lion in Winter, conveniently, is a Christmas film because it takes place at Christmas Court in 1183. So we could do Christmas films. We could do British royalty films. We could do arguing family films. We could do families arguing at the holiday films.
It feels like you've done a lot of prep here.
we could do I don't know. I'm running out of steam.
I think that all of those are great. Christmas films seems a little broad. I think we can
never bad to throw a broad one in there, Pete. Never bad.
That's true. It's a safety pick.
Yeah.
We could do. There's a thing about The Lion in Winter. About the there's sort of that spousal, marriages that are breaking or broken films, right?
Yeah, broken marriage films.
Broken marriage
Everybody's
films.
favorite topic for the holidays.
Okay, broken marriage comedies. You jerk.
So funny.
Okay. What were yours again? You said them so fast. You were so excited about them. I've already forgotten.
Christmas films, British royalty films.
Oh, British royalty films.
Yeah.
That's I'm the most excited about that one because of, your great affinity to all things British royalty.
That's true. I do enjoy British royalty quite a bit.
I'm eager to see your picks on that. I don't know that my contributions would.
You won't be here. You won't be here to contribute.
Oh, that's right. I'm out of town.
You're bailing.
Great.
This is be perfect. And hopefully Steve. Hopefully someone will. Somebody. Anybody?
And he's just going to read 9 British royalty films.
That's right.
Yes, I think it's great. So let's do that. I want to lock my request for British royalty films.
British royalty films. Okay.
Mm-hmm. You want to do broken marriages and Christmas films?
So we say broken marriage comedies or just broken marriages?
Yes, broken marriage comedies. Good luck.
And Christmas films.
Yeah.
Okay. Or should we say Christmas films or films set at Christmas?
Films set at Christmas. That's right.
God forbid we're the ones who bring up the whole Die Hard controversy again.
Yeah. Jeez.
And now we're calling The Lion in Winter a Christmas movie.
It's the new great holiday film, everybody. The Lion in Winter.
Oh, good times. Fantastic. Right. Well, that will go up live here in a couple minutes. So everybody get your votes in and we'll be back. Somebody will be back. I know I will, but hopefully someone will join me. And we will talk about those films and a new trailer pick for the holidays. Oh, by the way, just unrelated, but on Aquaman last night, and I didn't see it online yet, but the new trailer for Godzilla was in front of Aquaman. And Who Baby, that was a great trailer. I had so much fun watching it with all of the big monsters in it. Great old time. So look forward to that trailer.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. There you go.
Yeah.
Good talk, Andy.
All right, buddy.
Hopefully I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Hopefully. I hope.
Hopefully. I hope I'll talk to you again.
Well, happy holidays. And yes, until 2019 then, I guess.
Have a great holiday.